Hi everyone, welcome back to Novel iDeea. My name is Deea, and today we are going to go over the books I read in March. So, I participated in a couple of things in March. I also have been participating in Chantel Reads All Day's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. Haven't really been updating you on like what books are what. Probably do that like at the end of the year, and I'll just tell you like what I read for the challenge. But just about everything I read this month, I read from my bookshelves, which is really exciting. And really, it feels so good to do that. So let's jump in and start chatting about these books. We've got some wrapping up to do. Oh, today's tea is a Numi brand tea. It is rooibos chai. Looks like this. I've got my package is torn, sorry. And then this is really peppery, but it doesn't have much of the rooibos so that it's not very sweet. So I add the Yogi brand of the same thing, rooibos chai. And this one is a little sweeter and this one is a little spicier. So between the two of them, I get a nice warming spicy tea. So that is what's in. Let's go over middle grade March. So our prompts for middle grade March this year were author with 3 names, flowers on the cover, travel, a book in a series, and published in the 1900s. So I'm gonna try as I go through these to remind you of where they fit in the prompts. So the first one that I read was Momo. I was so excited to read this and had been looking for the book for several years. I got it as a gift and then hung on to it. After getting it as a gift, I hung on to it because I wanted it for middle grade March. So it was the very first one I picked up. I was not disappointed. It's a very sweet story with a lesson, and I would say that it's a little more on the nose. Did I say it was by Michael Ende? Michael Ende is the one that wrote Neverending Story. Neverending Story has kind of a lesson to learn, but it is not on the nose. And it doesn't feel like it's pushing any kind of teaching on you. Momo is a little more obvious. However, I loved it. We have a young girl who is living in kind of a not so great area of a city. However, she has a gift for storytelling, and the inhabitants of the city always feel better after they've listened to her for a little while. And as a result, there is peace and community and loving kindness that goes on as a result of these people coming to listen to her every day. Then one day, some strangers begin to appear in the village, and she needs to do something about it. And there is an element of science fiction to the story, a little bit of an element of fantasy in just kind of the magic that happens when people listen to her. It was a strong start to middle grade March. Then I read Podkin One Ear. This is by Kieran Larwood. It is the beginning of a series. I'm sorry, did I not tell you? Momo was written in the 1900s, covers that one. And my version did have some flowers on the cover. And also there was travel involved. Now Podkin not only has travel involved, but is also a part of a series. And Podkin One Ear is the story about a community of rabbits, or a warren, where they are all just kind of happy. They're poor, kind of, but they don't really know it or care. And then one day when they are digging a new part of a warren, something happens and they encounter an object that begins to change them, and they become the enemies of all the other warrens around them. There is one that finds his way to Podkin's warren, and in doing this, the aunt, I think, of Podkin and his little brother and sister, they are sent away, and to not only survive, but to find help and to find a way to defeat these newborn enemies of all rabbit kind. And I just thought it was wonderful. It reminded me a lot of Green Ember, not just because of the rabbits, but also the sister-brother, mother-father relationships. Also, that there was kind of a chip on the shoulder of one of the brother rabbits. And anyway, it reminded me a little bit of the Green Ember. I have not gone on yet. I have 2 more books in the series. The series is longer than that, but I have 2 more of them. Then I read 2 more that were in a series. I read The Mystery of the Clockwork Sparrow and The Mystery of the Jeweled Moth. These are by Katherine Woodfine, and they're part of a series, early Victorian era, and the department store opens, and our main character kind of discovers a new talent that she has in solving mysteries, and an older man who is a private investigator also notices her talent for it and encourages her to keep doing it. And so the series is based on her and her friends that are employees of this department store that then go about solving these mysteries. The first one I did not like as much. In fact, I almost didn't go on and read the second one because I thought it was fine, but it had some just kind of actions in it that I didn't necessarily love. It's because of my own background, but I just didn't love it. And then I did go on to read the second book, and I liked it much more than the first. And I have 2 more in the series that I can read, and so I'm looking forward to getting to those at some point as well. Both of those are, like I said, part of a series, and there is some traveling around the city in them, so I think that kind of counts. Next, I read Kate DiCamillo's The Puppets of Spellhorst. And this definitely has travel. And so that is the only prompt I think that it meets, because unless you think that DiCamillo is two separate words, she doesn't have three names. There were no flowers on the cover. It's not a part of a series, and it was written in the 2000s. So this is not my favorite DiCamillo. I did like it. I didn't love it. It was about a set of 5 puppets who don't think of themselves as puppets at all. There is a very wise owl, a young girl, a young man, a king, and a wolf. And there's a man who ends up buying the puppets, who is reminded of kind of some things in his past that he really wishes that he could change. And he sits down to write a letter about that. During the night, he passes away, and the puppets are then sold on to a father of 2 girls. And when they open, or an uncle of the 2 girls, and when they open the trunk, they also find the letter. And the older daughter decides to write a play for the puppets based on the letter. And the puppets have their own adventures, and they also get to kind of find out what's important in life. And it was, there were some very sweet moments and some really fun moments in the story, but overall, just really not my favorite of DiCamillo's. And I think it might be because of the, just kind of the tone of the personalities of some of the puppets. Nonetheless, it was a good book. I did like it. Then I read 2 of my Eva Ibbotson books. I read The Secrets of Platform 13, and I read Beasts of Clawstone Castle. And of these 2, I thought that Beasts of Clawstone Castle was going to be my favorite, but I actually really liked Secrets of Platform 13. And I wonder if J.K. Rowling didn't possibly have this in her mind when she was writing Harry Potter. I loved the personalities and the kind of growth that the characters had, their little arc that they had. It's a short book, so she does a lot in very few pages. And so I enjoyed Platform 13 a lot. In case I didn't say it, it is about a king and queen who have a baby, and he is kind of kidnapped, and then it's about getting him back and bringing him home. Hey everyone, quick edits here. I realized I didn't tell you about Beasts of Clawstone Castle, and it's worth telling you about. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that it was about a couple of children who have to go away to visit an uncle that they don't know very well, because their parents are going to America for a teaching job, I think. The castle is haunted. And on top of that, there are these very special breed of cows that are just very unique, and there's danger of the castle being sold off and no longer in the family, and the children come up with this brilliant idea of how to save the castle, how to save the cows, and it has everything to do with the ghosts. And so it was just a wonderful story, and it was really funny and just quirky. Eva Ibbotson writes these wonderful quirky characters, and you end up caring about characters that you never thought you would. So I didn't want to leave the synopsis of the book out and not give you the chance to understand what it was about. So wanted to make sure to get that in here. So thanks for letting me pop back in with a little edit. And then I read Jennie by Paul Gallico. Both of the Eva Ibbotson books were written in the 1900s. Platform 13 also has flowers on the cover. Paul Gallico, Jennie. This might be my favorite out of all the books that I read. I really loved Momo, and of course I love another one that's coming up. The group read was The Secret Garden. Of course I love that one, but I've read that many times. And I think out of the new books that I read, Jennie might be my favorite. I thought that I had 2 Paul Gallico books that I would be reading for this. And what I found out is that Jennie and The Abandon, which are 2 separate books on my shelf, are the same book. One is the European title and one is the American title. And so I may, if somebody would like to have a copy of this book, I do have The Abandon. I'm going to hang on to Jennie because that's the one I read. So I will hang on to it. But if someone would like The Abandon, it's a New York Review book, hardcover. So if you would like that, let me know. I would be happy to send that off to someone. However, let me tell you about Jennie. Let me tell you about this book. It was about a lonely man who has been looking for a long time for just the right cat to be his companion. And one day, while he is out and about, he is knocked unconscious. And when he wakes up in the body of a cat. And Jennie is another cat that is homeless, and she becomes his companion and his teacher and teaches him all about being a cat and the wonders of it and just how to do it well. And I was entranced. I absolutely loved it. There's some travel involved. It was written in the 1900s. Can't recommend that one enough. It was wonderful. Okay, I already mentioned The Secret Garden, so I'll tell you that I did read that one, and that one has almost everything that they asked for in the prompt. So it does have an author with 3 names, Frances Hodgson Burnett. It does have flowers on the cover. It is about a garden after all. It does have travel in it. You start out in India, you end up in England, and it was published in the 1900s. The last 2 that I read for middle grade March were 2 books by Patricia MacLachlin. And those were Baby and Fly Away. And they were both wonderful. They're not my favorite MacLachlin books, but Patricia MacLachlin, Eva Ibbotson, Paul Gallico, they just never disappoint me. So even though they're not my favorite, they're still wonderful. One is about a baby that is found and is taken in by this family, loved as if it was their own, even though they know that someday the parent is going to turn up and want this baby back. They don't hold back. They love it fully. I love Patricia MacLachlin's themes. And then Fly Away was a little bit of a surprise, not quite what I was expecting. From the cover, it wasn't what I was expecting. The cover has like this girl standing outside, looking up at the geese that are flying by. Basically about the way that that little girl on the cover saves her family. And she has always felt kind of other than her family. Everyone in her family is very musical in some way, and she is not. There is something that happens where she is the only one that is going to be able to bring about what needs to happen in order for her family to continue to survive. She's very brave. So, even though they aren't the ones that I would say are my absolute favorites, they were so good. I really liked them. And that is everything that I read for middle grade March. It was a really good year. So good. I didn't think that it was going to be, because the last couple of years I haven't really found anything that I absolutely loved. This year I found Jennie and Momo especially, but I don't think I really had a dud in the group. So out of all of them, you know, I could say this one's my favorite, but all of them were good. And that just makes me very happy. So one more edit. I need to say that I decided last minute to go ahead and split the video into 2 parts. So I will be wrapping up the rest of the books in a separate video. We're going to do middle grade March only in this one. So down below, why don't you tell me what your favorite middle grade was that you read this year, and also tell me if you have had good middle grade years in the past, or if this one was especially good. I'm just curious, just want to know if you are similar to me and my experience. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you again in another video very soon, everybody.